let's talk about what I want to read in February. Hi, I'm Colleen. If you're new here, I talk about books and writing. Today I'm going to talk about the books I want to read in February. It's a pretty diverse bunch of genres for me. So I have 2 book of the months, 1 nonfiction, 2 high fantasy, 1 romance, 1 contemporary fiction. And then I'm going to be honest with you, I have not picked a book for February for book of the month yet because I have 2 book of the month picks in this pile that I haven't read yet that I got in January. I haven't read either. I got 2 books in January. I haven't read either of them. So my rule for me personally is, because I also have 2 older backlist book of the months that I haven't read yet. I'm not allowed to pick a February book of the month until I finish one of these and start the other book of the month. So once I do that, then I can order one for February, provided I do it in the amount of time I need to for my February pick to come. So the first book I am going to finish reading, and I have already started, is The Future Saints by Ashley Winstead. I'm on page 112 of it right now. It is about a band in California in the 2020s and the manager that comes to sort of like fix them. So they've all fallen apart. Their manager died a year ago, and they're pretty young. They're in their 20s. And their label sends this young guy who they call the fixer to sort of be their manager and see if he can get one more album out of them. Right when he gets there, they have this sort of viral moment. And now they're like a hot band. Okay, so that's where I am in the story right now. They're traveling around, going on tour. I'm liking it so far. I did pick it thinking that there'd be like Daisy Jones and the Six Vibes, which I'm not getting yet, but maybe I will eventually. Yeah, so we'll see what I think. Hopefully I'll like it. Next from book of the month, I got My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. I haven't started this, but I did put a bookmark in there to get, so it's ready to go. This whole pile is on my bedside table so that I can just pick up one whenever. I'm just gonna read you the blurb because I always feel like I'm really bad at summarizing thrillers. Like I'm not a thriller blurb girl. 1 house, 1 husband, 2 women, someone is lying. Eden Fox, an artist on the brink of her big break, sets off for a run before her first exhibition. When she returns home, to the home she recently moved into, Spyglass, an enchanting old house in Hope Falls, nothing is as it should be. Her key won't fit. A woman eerily similar to her answers the door, and her husband insists the stranger is his wife. 6 months earlier, a reclusive wanderer called Birdie, reeling from a life-changing diagnosis, inherits Spyglass. This unexpected gift from her long-lost grandmother brings her to the pretty seaside village of Hope Falls. But then Birdie stumbles upon a shadowy clinic that claims to be able to predict a person's date of death, including her own. Secrets start to unravel, and as the line between truth and lie blurs, Birdie feels compelled to right some old wrongs. That just sounded crazy. Like, absolutely crazy. And I read one of her books, the Daisy Darker book, and I did like that book. And so I was like, I want a thriller for January. It was supposed to be, but it's going to end up being February. And so I grabbed this one, and I hope I love it. Next, let's do my high fantasy. So one I already started, The Amber Owl by Juliette Marillier, who's one of my favorite authors. I'm at page 72. The reason I've paused this is because I was reading this when I was out of town, very far away. I was in France, and I was missing my children horribly. And then, this isn't that much of a spoiler, but there's a 12-year-old boy character who dies, and I have a 12-year-old boy. And so I kind of had an emotional meltdown and had to stop reading the book. I'll pick it back up. But I did just need a little bit of time off of it. I've been home now for a while, but I got home and my kids immediately all got really sick with the flu. So I'm just not there yet. I will get there and I will read it. This is high fantasy. It's about this town on the edge of this magical woods, and this lord's men show up and they're trying to find this treasure in the woods and cutting down all these sacred trees. And that's where I am right now. Yeah, I imagine nothing good's going to come from cutting down a sacred grove. Next, I'm really intimidated that I put this on my TBR, but I did it. I just want to start it, okay? I'm not going to try and finish it. I just want to start it. But it's The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Now, I had never really heard of John Gwynne. I'm being honest, I don't read male authors very often. I don't. I read almost entirely female authors. Maybe if I read 70 books in a year, 2 are by men. That's just who I am. Also, I think part of that is because I don't read a lot of political thrillers or horror books, genres where they tend to be male forward for authors. But my editor told me after she read Bewitching Rosemary, my second book, she said to me, do you have a book like a John Gwynne that you've written, and will you send it to me? And I was like, I I don't think so, because I've never read a John Gwynne. And so she was like, you should read one and then see if you want to write a book of similar genre. I was like, okay. So she told me that a couple years ago, obviously, because that book came out a while ago. And I finally saw this one at my town's used book sale. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get it. I'm going to see what I think. I don't have any plans to write a book that's like, I think this is like Norse high fantasy, maybe. I don't know much about it, but just looking at the names. It's 478 pages, which isn't that long, but there's something about this that just feels intimidating. Maybe because the book's so tall. I don't know. So my plan is I want to read 100 pages of this in February, and maybe more if I love it. But I just want to read 100 pages and see what I think, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Okay, make sure I do that. Next, let's do nonfiction, because I'm actually really excited to read this book. The Rural Diaries by Hilary Burton Morgan. You probably recognize her from One Tree Hill or The Walking Dead, but I loved her book, Grimoire Girl. And my friend who recommended Grimoire Girl was like, did you read The Rural Diaries? I loved it. And I was like, no, but I wasn't really that into it. And now I'm like, why wouldn't I be into it? I love reading about farms. Like, my dream would be to like have a farm, but I don't think I could actually handle it, because I'm like, I could definitely not do animals. I'd love to have just like a giant homesteading garden. That's like my dream. We just don't have space for it. And also I live in like a wooded area, so we don't get great light. We get a little patch of light, which is where I grow my pumpkins. But I really do want to read this. I like her writing style a lot. Grimoire Girl was so fun. And yeah, so I was like, I should obviously read her other memoir about living on her farm, which she named Mischief Farm, which I love. That's probably going to be pretty far forward in the TBR. Another one that's going to be pretty far forward in the TBR is Snow Country by Yasunari Kawabata. This has been on my TBR for a really long time, and it's very short. It's like 175 pages. So I'm just going to read you the blurb. It's a classic. It's translated from Japanese. At an isolated mountain hot spring with snow blanketing every surface, Shimamura, a wealthy dilettante, I can never say that word, meets Komako, a lowly geisha. She gives herself to him fully and without remorse, despite knowing that their passion cannot last and that the affair can only have one outcome. In chronicling the course of this doomed romance, Kawabata has created a story for the ages, a stunning novel dense in implication and exalting in its sadness. The main reason I need to read this in February is because I know if I don't read it in February, I'm not going to read it for a year, because I'm not going to read Snow Country in March. In March, I'm done. I'm done with the snow, even though we're not done with the snow. So this is going to be front half of the month that I picked this one up. All right, next, I did put a Sophie Jordan, Wicked in Your Arms, because I was looking and I was like, some of this stuff's a little bit heavy. Future Saints might be really heavy. My Husband's Wife will be a little creepy. Shadow of the Gods is kind of heavy. That Juliette Marillier is already making me cry. So I was like, I need a romance novel. And so I have a bunch of Sophie Jordans upstairs that are just random. I always just grab hers because I really love her world. It relaxes me. So I don't even know much about this one. So we've got Greer. She's an illegitimate daughter of one of London's most unsavory characters and has one advantage, an enormous ill-gotten dowry. Love it. Prince Sebastian Maximi knows where his duty lies. He must find a well-bred young lady, one with a fortune, wed her promptly, and get to the business of producing an heir. Sounds like fun. I wonder where he's from. That last name sounds Maximi. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know after I read it. But I love a Sophie Jordan. And then lastly, this is the one I'm not sure if I'm actually going to get to, especially if I do end up picking a book from Book of the Month. Which we might. I'm not going to go through all the picks and everything because I really don't know what I'm going to pick. I don't know if I'm picking anything. I don't know if I'm allowed to. But I grabbed The Blue Bistro by Ellen Hildebrand. It's odd for me to read a Hildebrand this time of year, and I'm a little wary because the last time I read a Ellen Hildebrand in February, I hated it. And I read a lot of good ones last year. Like, I had probably my best Ellen Hildebrand reading year ever. I read The Summer of '69, which I loved. I read The Academy in the fall, which I loved. And I read Winter Stroll in December, which I loved. So I'm a little tentative if I should read one right now. Also, it's one of her older ones. But I was also kind of like, maybe I read this one now because if I don't love this one, I'd be so upset if I read an Ellen Hildebrand in June that I didn't love. Because like I need a great one in June. And so I picked this one because it's the one I'd heard the least about that I still have upstairs on my TBR. I think I have like 4 or 5 Ellen Hildebrands up there. So let's see if it says which number book this is that she wrote. So it's her 9th book. Okay, I'm looking at the ones that have come out before this one, and I've only read one. It's the one I didn't like. That's okay. Oh, starts with a menu. Oh, summer 2005. That's when I graduated college. Oh my gosh, it's making me so hungry. I didn't really eat breakfast today. God, I want to order off this. So the premise of this, I'm just going to read you the blurb. Adrienne Dealey has spent the past 6 years working in hotels for exotic resort towns. This summer, she's decided to make Nantucket her home. Left flat broke by her ex-boyfriend, she's desperate to earn some fast money. When the desirable Thatcher Smith, owner of Nantucket's hottest restaurant, is the only one to offer her a job, she wonders if she can get by with no restaurant experience. Thatcher gives Adrienne a crash course in the business, and they share an instant attraction. But there's a mystery about their situation. What is it about Fiona, the Blue Bistro's chef, that captures Thatcher's attention again and again? And why does she have such a successful restaurant seem to be in its final season before closing the doors for good? Despite its uncertainty, Adrienne must decide whether to open her heart for the first time or move on, as she always does. So it sounds like there's a love triangle. Are any of these characters in Nantucket or Hotel Nantucket? I wonder, because every once in a while, Ellen Hilderbrand does have characters like pop up from other books. And Hotel Nantucket was the first one I read. But like, is Thatcher in that? My internet's not working. But now I'm like, I gave that book to my mom, so I can't look it up. Is Thatcher in that book? I can't remember. Like, I know Lisbeth, who's the main character in that, has a ex who's a chef, but maybe it's not Thatcher. I can't remember what his name is. Okay. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to figure it out. I doubt it though, because I read Hotel Nantucket in like whatever year it came out, 2022, 2023. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So I don't know if my brain's going to remember, but I think that's a pretty well-rounded February. I've got some romance, some contemporary fiction, some high fantasy, a thriller, a classic. I got a lot cooking up. So it'll be good. It'll be good, right? Yes, it will. I'd love to hear what's on your February TBR. Is there something that you're just dying to read? Also, if you're a book of the month person, please let me know what you're picking for February, because I did go through the list, and I think part of the reason I'm not like super motivated is nothing like grabbed me. So it's always hard for me, and it's February, so they're going to put a romance, which is fine. But when they put a YA fantasy also, I don't read that. And so it's like right away, there's 2 books I'm not going to read. And then one of the thrillers looked really scary. One of the thrillers looked good, fine, which would probably be what I picked. But then there's also like this new thing they're doing with The Offset, which is like a book that's like an older book that they are pushing. And then they also have a book that's from 100 years ago. So they did, or because it's the 100th year anniversary. So they did All Quiet on the Western Front, which I don't want to read that because that's too sad. So I was just all over the place. So I said I wasn't going to talk about it, and I'm obviously going to talk about it. I'm between picking A Good Animal by Sarah Mauer and It's Not Her by Mary Kubica. I'm also a little bit like Good People by Padmina Sabit, but I don't know if that's going to be really sad. So not picking today. After I finish reading The Future Saints and I start My Husband's Wife, then I'm allowed to pick. Okay? But if you've got a advanced reader's copy of any of these and they're amazing, just like drop it in the comments. Okay? All right. Thank you for watching. As always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. And I'll see you soon.